Okay, so this is some hints and tips to complete this particular homework. This first question is talking about diamond. So to help us get a visual, here is the structure of diamond. Remember, diamond contains carbon atoms, and the carbon atoms are joined by four covalent bonds. Each one will have four covalent bonds. And think about what that does to the structure. That's going to make this structure very a rigid structure, and therefore it's very hard to move these atoms, and therefore it's a very hard material, and that's why it's used as cutting tools. In terms of graphite, here's again a diagram to help you visualize it. So graphite exists in layers. What's interesting here is each carbon atom in the structure. So each carbon in here has three bonds. Now that's a big hint for you. Think about what that means. Think about what that means it contains as a structure. And the other thing to be aware of is these layers are held together by these weak forces. Okay, so think what that means these layers can do. And that's going to help you answer the question about lubricants and about electrodes. Remember, electrodes are needed to conduct electricity, and lubricants are needed to reduce friction because they will slide. So think how that applies to this structure. Okay, magnesium is a metal. This is a diagram showing you the arrangement. So we have our metal cations, and they're surrounded by a sea of delocalized electrons. If you are going to be a good conductor of electricity, what you need to have is some form of charged particle that can move. So look at the diagram, look at the labels, think about what the sea of delocalized electrons can do in order to get your marks. Okay, this question, you are using the data in the table, and you need to remember some core knowledge around the different types of compounds. Okay, so for example, we should remember that if you are ionic, you have a high melting point and boiling point. You also will conduct as a liquid and in a molten state, or in fact, rather than liquid, let's say in a solution, so when it's dissolved, but you will not conduct when a solid. Okay. If you are covalent, you will have a low melting and boiling point. You will not be, so there will not be ability to conduct, so there's no conduction. And these things are not soluble, so they are not great at dissolving. And the other type of bonding you should remember, I'll squeeze it in here, is giant covalent, and these have a very high melting point. Trying to think of any core key themes, because sometimes they will conduct, like graphite will, but diamond doesn't conduct. I think the big thing there that might help you to identify that is a very high melting point. Okay, and then once you've identified the types of bonds, you should be able to answer these questions, understanding the properties and linking it to the type of bonding that exists. Okay, this one here wants us to explain why iron has a high melting point. Remember, if something has a high melting point, that indicates that there are strong bonds in place. So have a think, using this structure here, what are the bonds in place? And if it's a high melting point, something's got to be strong. And the last couple, explain in terms of electrons how a covalent bond is formed. That's core knowledge. If you don't know that, go and look that up in your book, or there's a little video here that you can scan. Methane is covalent. Again, these are properties of covalent that you need to know. So if you're unsure, watch the video here. And this last one, My tip is this, that carbon has atomic number of 6, which means it has got 6 electrons, which are arranged 2, 4. Chlorine has atomic number of 17, so it's going to be arranged electrons as 2, 8, 7. This has got 7 its outer energy level, this has got 4. Think about how they are going to form a covalent compound. Remember what that means. This is all about share or sharing. Let me change that for you. This is all about sharing a pair of electrons. Okay?